What y'all? It's your dude Born Shining here. I'm born shining, you're born shining. We're all born shining. Unless you're not. Um, yeah, don't let nobody tell you otherwise. Don't let anybody tell you that you're not shining. Anyways, I'm gonna give a shout out to the universal life force, the great creator, spirit which moves through all things, Ra. I want to give a shout out to the archangels and ascended masters, spirit guides, spirit animals, star brothers and sisters, planet Earth, invisible helpers, ancestors and crossover loved ones, all my friends, known, seen, known and unknown, seen and unseen, and anybody who's working to raise the vibration and frequency of this planet. Um, so this vid is going to be a little more directed, and I'm going to do my best to not diverge on the topics, but again, it's all kind of related, and so um, yeah, today's today's video is about just got this overwhelming feeling that I need to talk about this whole voting thing and how just saw a butterfly. Voting, it's like such an empty practice. It's such an empty practice. Like you vote, you cast your vote, and there's no accountability. And beyond that, it's like how do you know that the vote, that everything, like the representation, you know what I mean, the voter representation, voter turnout, it's like we're putting a lot of faith in these people that have a lot to lose if the vote doesn't go their way, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't seem it doesn't seem it's like the cattle owner having the cows take a vote to like who wants to go to slaughter, you know what I mean? But the cattle rancher is making money on the cows going to slaughter. So if the cows vote against going to slaughter, the cattle rancher can just tell them, nah, you know, nobody voted for that. But the other thing is that like we're kind of conditioned somehow to like not talk about politics socially. Politics itself is a very it's like a minefield, dude. You start talking to people about their positions and like why they are for this and why they're for that, and or their beliefs, which is basically it's a belief system. Your politics is you vote based on your belief system and your values, and that's a minefield. And it's just really fascinating that we go through this process every so often of casting these votes, and meanwhile, and I know I've said this before, but I'm going to keep saying it. It's like we vote with our dollars. The We're casting votes every day, not just with our dollars, but you're voting with your attention, what you give your attention to. And interestingly, what you give your attention to, usually the next step, the follow up, is you giving dollars to certain companies or certain groups, or so for example, you give your attention to a commercial and you get inspired or emotionally manipulated into donating money to the Red Cross, let's say. What changes? Like the Red Cross is like a response thing, I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe there's some preemptive stuff in there they're doing, but again, like when we're talking about emergencies and sending help and all of this kind of stuff, like you really got to ask yourself how do these things continue to happen? I mean, when I was in school and I'm learning about political science and international relations and all of these different things, um, resources were always kind of the driving force behind a lot of these conflicts. Resources, whether it's territory. I mean, indigenous Native American tribes, the Indians, North American Indian, they would have territorial disputes, like you're hunting my buffalo, they're on my property, they're in my zone. I mean, the Indians didn't really have um, borders, but they had territories and spheres of influence, and that was definitely an issue. And so, you know, uh, these the driving forces of these conflicts is about it's about resources, and money is a resource, and it's a manipulated one. And so, I just find it fascinating that that we continue to go through this process that clearly is not working. You know, we cast votes, and on the other side of the equation, you have people, companies, you have lobbyists who are essentially giving money to politicians to do what's in the best interest of the corporation or the company or whatever. So what you know the money involved in politics is so much more important than your vote. Like when people stop, like, look at what happened to Bud Light. You know what I mean? They put out a goofy ad. People stopped buying Bud Light. They lost billions of dollars. Did you see how fast they changed their tune? But what happens when people go and vote? It's like it doesn't even matter. Like, it just doesn't even matter. But if people stopped participating financially in this bullshit system, I bet you shit would change quick, because these people are getting paid. They're giving out contracts. They're collecting our money as a nation. They're collecting our money, and they're giving it out to people who are not working in the best interest of the people. They're working in the best interest. They're working towards their own bottom line. You know what I mean? And on that note, it's hard to talk about money without talking about how manipulated it is. I mean, I can't go and print money, you know, but the Federal Reserve can, and they're pretty much, they've got the country by the balls, man. They've got the United States by the balls, the Federal Reserve. They control inflation, they control interest rates, they control all of these things. And because of how embedded the United States is around the world, and the popularity of the dollar, they've got the world by the balls, you know? And the IRS is like their goon squad. I mean, the dollar, if you haven't seen a chart or a graph of the value of the dollar since it was created, it's pretty much on it. It's like you could ski down the motherfucker. It's a downhill slope. You know what I mean? Like, how many people know about this? But everybody's got, access to the newest technology. Everybody's got access to video games and fucking, you know, welfare and whatever, like, it's a huge sham, dude. It's a huge sham. And so what am I advocating? I'm advocating that you stop participating in the it's an illusion. I mean, that's what the Matrix is. The Matrix is this, it's the idea that you're doing something, or like you have a say in something, when you really don't. You really don't. I mean, in your personal life, yeah, you get to decide who you're around, who who you call, and all of these kinds of things. But in the larger scheme of things, like, how does that little puzzle piece fit into the bigger puzzle? You know, they don't care about you. And how do I know that? Because, and again, I know Donald Trump, there's a lot of controversy surrounding this guy, but it's like when they came after Donald Trump, the very fact that they can do that, and there's not a complete unanimous shutdown of by the American public, just based on the simple principle that if it happens to one person, it could happen to any of us. I mean, if they're going to do that to Donald Trump, a man who's running for president, who in fact was elected president, and who is running again, and they still don't seem to stop coming after him without any legitimate reason for it. What do you think they're going to do to somebody down the street that doesn't have the resources that Donald Trump has, that doesn't have the uh, the influence? Seriously, dude, they don't give a shit. So if it happens to one, it can happen to any of us. And since they're trying to do it with Donald Trump, I can guarantee you they don't give a shit about you. They don't give a shit about me. They just want us to shut up and keep keep buying gasoline, keep buying oil, keep buying fast food, keep buying all of this. Just keep every business as usual. Just keep it with business as usual. So this whole idea of voting, I mean, it's very connected to money, influence, power, and this perpetuation of the matrix. And I'm telling you, if people stop paying their taxes, if we all just stop paying our taxes, like, what are they going to do? What are they going to do? I mean, they complain, you know, they make the government shutdown sound like a bad thing. You know what I mean? But is it my fault that people don't have the wherewithal to do any kind of digging into the people that they work for? Like, is it my issue? Is it my problem that people have decided to build their entire foundation, their entire livelihood on a scam? You know, like, yeah, I feel for those people, and yeah, like, I mean, I'm not saying leave them high and dry. Like, there's got to be resources to help people. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter who you are, but at the same time, like, we can't pretend like a small group of the population's livelihood is more important than the welfare of our nation, especially when our nation is such a huge influence, driving force, beacon of light and hope around the world. You know, like, we need we need people to start really taking ownership of their actions and the ripple effects of those actions. You know, would you pay somebody, like, would you pay a contractor, like, let's assume that you're a homeowner, you hired somebody to come out and work on your electricity, fix your main or wire something, and they do a shitty job. Like, are you going to pay them their full price? Are you going to have them come out and fix it again? You know what I mean? What if you've already paid them? You know what I mean? These are the kinds of situations that we find ourselves in as a populace. And what's the recourse? Where's the accountability? You know, people, we need to unanimously wake up across the board, no matter what side of the aisle you're on. Okay. And in other videos, I talk about how insanely divisive this two-party system is, even with all the third parties. It's just a ruse to make you think that you have a choice, but you don't have any choice. The choice that you have is, what do you do for work? How do you create your money? Where do you spend your money? What do you give your attention to? Those are within your control, but voting clearly is not working. It doesn't work. Never mind the fact that it's a rigged system, because what, with the electoral college, you know what I mean? Again, without the population knowing exactly, having a trustworthy way to know how everybody has voted and hold these people accountable, the people in the electoral college, they can vote however they want. So your vote is more just like a suggestion, instead of how most people see it, as like a demand, you know or like your vote is the law, like this is happening. And then it gets to the electoral college and they're like, oh well, we feel like it should go a different direction. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just a dude who was serious enough about all of this stuff to look into it, and what I found is not it's not pretty. But again, you can't solve problems without understanding the magnitude of the issue, you know what I mean? And so, like I said, like, I'm just a dude, access to public information. I don't have any insiders. I'm not an insider. You know what I mean? It has forced me to get creative and utilize certain uh, techniques and strategies and skills that a lot of people don't even believe are real, you know, like your super conscious, uh, psychic abilities, intuition, all of these kinds of things, which, interestingly, the government and many other well known institutions around the world have given a lot of money. I mean, they've thrown a lot of money at these things, they've invested a lot of money into these fields, parapsychology, so the fact that, you know, Billy Bob down the street doesn't believe in psychics, what does that mean? That doesn't mean shit to me. If that wasn't real, then all of these universities wouldn't be doing studies on it. They wouldn't have schools and have all this research going into these fields. The military and the alphabet agencies wouldn't have programs devoted to these practices. You know what I mean? So it's an interesting place that we find ourselves in. But I mean, again, like, the truth is out there. It's like when you realize that the government is using remote viewing to observe what's happening during the Cold War, what's happening in Soviet Russia, in places that spies can't access. Do you think, and they're and they're getting accurate information? Do you why wouldn't I use it? Why wouldn't I trust it? Invest a little bit of time at the very least in learning what it's all about. Like, how does it work? You know? And I think deep down, on a deep level, most people most people agree that they can't trust the government. And yet, when it comes time to take action, when it comes time to do something about it, there's like some kind of wall. It's like we hit a wall, and it's like, oh, maybe I'm not willing to do that, you know? Yeah, I'll say that I don't trust the government, and yeah, I'll look cool, I'll jump on that bandwagon, but when it comes time to take action, it's like, oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to give up my livelihood to based on principle. You know what I mean? Like, what am I going to do if I don't have food and you know, it's like when you're a free person, that's what you do is you figure it out. You know, when you're a free person, you don't ask people for permission and you do what you need to do to keep the lights on. And I'm not talking about unscrupulous, immoral things. Because also, when you're a free person, you understand that other people are free too. You realize that you're not better than anyone. What separates people is not your role in society. You know what I mean? What separates people is like how you conduct yourself, how you live your life, the kind of your integrity, you know? But I mean, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Like the Constitution is a document, the US Constitution is a document that preserves our civil liberties. It is the physical representation of our God-given rights. So every person on the planet, and this is how I interpret it, especially because you have the Universal Declaration of Human Rights by the United Nations, everybody on the planet is equal in that regard. We all have free will, and we have the choice to pick how we want to live our lives. You know, do I want to eat chocolate ice cream or do I want to eat vanilla ice cream? Or do I want to mix it up and have them both? Do I want to have strawberry ice cream? You know, like, so our difference is in how we express those rights. But nobody has the rights to infringe upon another. Nobody has the right to coerce and manipulate and take advantage of people. And so at the end of the day, what I'm suggesting and what I'm proposing is that people do get upset about this. I hope this pisses people off to the point where they're like, okay, well, you know, what's your plan? You know? Again, like, did I go to war college? No, I didn't. But when you realize that children inherit things from their parents, if you can inherit trauma from your parents, then you can inherit other things. My mom was a soldier. By the time my mom had me, she was a trained soldier in the Marine Corps. Not just any soldier, she was a fucking United States Marine. And so my passion for this country, I was born with that. My passion for holding people accountable, I was born with that. Never mind all of these other things that I talk about, spirituality and whatnot. Yeah, there's a lot going on there. But I mean, just on a genetic level, like I was born with this attitude, dude. Enemies, foreign and domestic. Keyword domestic. Like, don't overlook that. These people don't give a shit about you. They don't give a shit about me. They care about their money and their power and their control over all the resources. And I don't think it's just the United States. I know this is like a worldwide thing. Again, we're talking about a country who has far-reaching influence around the world globally. This is a global issue, you know? We're not isolated as Americans. The decisions that we make on a day-to-day basis impact the world. And as well, our lack of decision, our lack of action, it impacts the world. So hopefully people see this and they get pissed off. And yeah, you know what I mean? At this point, I don't give a shit because what I've been seeing since, you know, my whole life basically is a United States full of people who haven't united under the banner of actual liberty. actual liberty, not just philosophical liberty or ideological liberty, but actual practical liberty. So I hope this pisses people off. And I also hope that this inspires people. Because at the end of the day, in my mind, like, we run this shit. You know? We run this show. We're driving this boat. You know? The dollar is built on the full faith and credit of of Americans. We give all of this power. And we can take it away. Our participation is what gives this power. That's what pushes the pedals and moves the gears, is our participation. When we start participating in something else, when we start participating in things that actually work for us and work for people around the world and actually benefit the environment and benefit our economies and benefit our family and our health and our personal psychology and well-being, that's when we'll get the benefits of those things. All right? I'm out of here. Love y'all. Have a great day. Peace.